Hey, fourth graders. This is your lesson 14 read aloud in Valley of the Moon. So if you are choosing to follow along, I'd like you to make sure that you have your novels out. I am going to start on page 137. I'm going to start sharing. I'm going to begin on June 8th. And I'd like you to follow along if you are watching this video. Let's zoom in a little bit. All right, page 137, June 8th. Here we go. Domingo and other boys are running in the streets, playing at war like it is a game. I pray that my dear brother never knows the true nature of war. Johnston did not arrive today as expected. Senora Medina is almost in hives, worried about what may have happened. We are staying at Gertruda's house yet another night. Domingo sleeps in the stable with the horses, which suits him fine. I sleep on the floor with Lupita and Ramona. It is late now. Many families are loading their belongings in carts and wagons in case they need to get out of Sonoma in a hurry. Senora Medina's sister is a most fearless woman. She loaded 2 muskets and laid out powder and lead, saying that Americans will take her home only over her dead body. So remember, this is kind of the idea that war might be coming. We're not exactly sure yet. And remember, the Johnstons are coming. Miguela has not been feeling well, and so she has wanted to come home. So that's kind of what's going on very simply right now. June 9th. Senor Johnston and Miguela arrived today. Miguela had hardly stepped through the door when she vomited into a bucket. Her face is pale and her clothing smelly. She fell into her mother's arms and wept bitterly, while Senor Johnston stood by helplessly wringing his hat. Miguela was immediately put to bed in the guest room. We will have to stay here until she is able to travel. Miguela is very sick and running a high fever. Senora Medina chastised Senor Johnston fiercely for allowing his wife to get sick in her delicate condition. So Senora Medina is very upset with Senor Johnston. He muttered and twisted his hat and stumbled outside to get away. I felt sorry for him and followed. He sat on the steps and hung his head low. I told him that it was not his fault. Women are always a little loco when they are with child. He nodded, then smiled and squeezed my hand. Nellie sends her love, he said. She wanted to come, but she was feeling poorly too. Johnston supposes it is the same thing that Miguela has. They walked to the docks together a few days ago and encountered a whole family of sick immigrants getting off one of the ships. I hope Walter doesn't get sick too. I'm sure you need him to watch the store while you're away, I said, trying to sound casual, but I think Johnston saw through me. Johnson assured me that Walter is fine and healthy. He sends his best regards to you, Rosa. You know Walter thinks you're a fine person and very intelligent. I didn't hear another word that Johnston said, for my heart was thumping in my chest so loud I could not even hear my own thoughts. Johnston decided that his wife is in capable hands and is returning to Yerba Buena. He said his goodbyes and left. I have a strange feeling, but I cannot put it into words. Another night on the floor. June 10th. I saw Lupita crying in the kitchen, her eyes red and her hands shaking. When I asked her what was wrong, she said, "There is bad trouble. A band of armed riflemen, Americanos, attacked Castro's men, the ones who had rounded up the horses from General Vallejo. The Americanos, mostly trappers, dressed in animal hides, accused Castro's men of plotting against them. They wanted Castro's men not to attempt to drive immigrants out of Alta California and then stole the herd of horses. Nearly everyone thinks that the American Captain Fremont is behind this. Lupita fears that Fremont will bring his soldiers into Sonoma and burn the town down. But mostly she is afraid that Gregorio and Senor Medina have been hurt. June 11th. Miguela's condition is worse. The older women say her illness has nothing to do with being with child. It is something much more sinister. Lupita's eyes are full of worry. She will not let me or the Medina daughters or Domingo near Miguela's room. Gabriela whispered into my ear, cholera, but she does not know that for sure. If so, we are all doomed, for it is a horrible and contagious disease that often destroys entire villages and towns. We three girls walked to the chapel and prayed for an hour and burned candles for Miguela. I also burned one for Nellie. June 12th. The household was awakened by loud shrieks this morning just before dawn. We girls ran into the hall, our long night dresses flowing, our long hair flying behind us. Lupita met us outside Miguela's closed door and pushed us back. She instructed me to go to the kitchen and start a pot of coffee and told the sisters to go back to bed. You can do nothing here. Miguela miscarried the child. And what of my sister? Rafaela asked, her face white as a shroud. She is strong and will survive. It will take more than a wicked disease to kill Miguela. Now go. I went to the kitchen and the two sisters followed me. As I made coffee and prepared tortillas, they clung to each other, weeping for the lost babe. So Miguela lost her baby, which is very, very sad. But she will be okay, but she's still sick, so she still has to recover. This afternoon, we went to church to pray for the soul of the unborn infant. Later, the priest wrapped its remains in satin and lace and placed it in a tiny wooden box for burial. Now I am sick with worry for Nellie and Walter, and even Senor Johnston himself. June 13th. The women all wore black today in honor of the dead baby. Miguela's fever broke, and Lupita is sure she will recover soon. We hope to return home in 2 or 3 days. It will be good to get away from this dark house of death. Sunday, June 14th. It is almost dawn. The household is in a deep sleep, but I am restless. I hear dogs barking at General Vallejo's house across the town plaza. I hear men's voices and the whinny of horses. Something's going on. Domingo was awakened by the noise too and crawled over to the window beside me. ¿Qué pasa? He asked me, rubbing his sleepy eyes and peering into the darkness. We saw candlelight flicker in Vallejo's front windows. I do not know, little brother, but men who sneak about in the darkness cannot be up to anything good. I must stop writing and go tell Lupita. It's a little bit worrisome, kind of crazy. Later in the day, all of Sonoma is stunned. The noises I heard this morning were Americans, mostly rough trappers in buckskin and animal hides, the same ones who attacked Castro's men and stole their horses. There are about 30 of them armed with rifles, pistols, and knives. They have gathered outside General Vallejo's house, demanding his arrest. Vallejo sent for his brother-in-law, Jacob Lease, who speaks both Spanish and English, to serve as an interpreter. Now General Vallejo, his brother, Salvador, his secretary, Senor Proudhon, and Jacob Leese are inside discussing terms with the men chosen to represent the disgruntled Americans. The town is anxiously waiting to hear what is happening. No one dares to approach the unruly Americanos who sit about grumbling. They appear to be a very impatient bunch. I noticed Senora Medina getting dressed for Mass. Lupita said, Senora, por favor, please, you cannot go to church today. The town is being besieged. It is too dangerous out there. But the Senora ignored her and said, Lupita, sorry. I just buried my first grandchild. Nothing the Americanos do can pain my heart more than that. Doña Gertruda took inspiration from her sister and dressed her own children for Mass. We walked across the plaza to the adobe church attached to Solano Mission. Many people stayed home, and those who came glanced over their shoulders nervously at the band of rough-clad Americans outside General Vallejo's house. They were now eating. The general had given instructions that a bullock he killed and the food was distributed to the Americans. Even in times of crisis, Spanish hospitality cannot be forsaken. By mid-morning, we had returned to the house, but we children could not sit still. We climbed the courtyard wall and watched the greasy men as they ate and grumbled among themselves. Apparently, they were very impatient for the meeting inside the general's house to be over. Around 11 o'clock, the general emerged immaculately dressed, accompanied by his brother-in-law, his secretary, and his brother. Though they did not struggle, it was obvious that the Vallejo party was under arrest. As the small party of prisoners and their captors rode by the house, the general held his head high. A wave of pride roared through my veins. Domingo stood on the wall and saluted like a soldier. Never have I seen the general with such a look of sadness on his handsome face. His wife and children and sister stood nearby, tears in their eyes, but with their chins held up. My heart ached for the family that had almost single-handedly built the Sonoma Valley into the prosperous patchwork of ranchos. The Americans who stayed behind quickly informed the priest and the alcalde that Sonoma was now under their rule. They loudly proclaimed California's independence from Mexico and the birth of the Republic of California. Some Americans took a piece of white muslin from a servant woman and made a crude flag. They painted a single red star in the left corner and a very sickly looking bear in the other. At the bottom of the flag, they stitched a strip of red petticoat and the words Republic of California. The flag of Mexico was hauled down from the pole in the plaza near the old barracks, and this new bear flag was hoisted in its place. My heart feels very strange. I am thankful there was no bloodshed, and General Vallejo's parting words told us not to worry, for he was in safe hands. But still, I do not feel like I am now in a new country. Nothing has changed except for the hungry Americano trappers who walk the streets with their muskets and huge hunting knives. Tonight, I lit a candle for General Vallejo and his family. June 15th. There is still much confusion in the town. Everyone wonders if California is a free republic or now part of America. A messenger arrived this afternoon saying that General Vallejo's party was being taken to Captain Fremont, who is camped on the American River. Everyone is now calling the land of Americans osos, bears, because of the flag. Their leader is a man named William B. Ide. Today, he read a proclamation and posted it. Townspeople have been talking about it all day. I hope that you recognize this as the Bear Flag Revolt. Miguela is regaining her strength, so Senora Medina wants to return to Rancho Agua Verde tomorrow. She is eager to find out if Senor Medina is back. We have not heard from him since June 6th, when he left with Gregorio. Senora Medina is deeply worried, for it is not like her husband to not send word. And we're going to stop here. We'll continue on June 16th. Wow, leaving us hanging like often, huh? Wow, a lot has happened. So we will be talking about this in class today. All right, fourth graders, see you soon.